Hello everyone, this is Booty Playboy. What you're looking at right here is this is the Bad Robot production office in Los Angeles, California, as evidenced by all the lens flares up there emanating from the sky. I don't know how he does it. He must conjure them out of his fingers or something, I don't know, like a medieval wizard on a hill. It's the home of the apex auteur JJ Abrams. Now, that was where I worked. Between 2014 and 2015, I worked here as a computer tech. As you know, JJ Abrams and Lawrence Kasdan wrote the screenplay for The Force Awakens, and it was a massive worldwide hit. What you might not know is at the same time, JJ had written a rough story treatment for episodes 8 and 9. Now, while I was working there, I happened to have read them, and I surreptitiously snapped a few spy photos for you. What you're looking at right here. Now, I'm not just saying this because I like JJ Abrams, but these treatments were freaking phenomenal. I mean, why Lucasfilm would reject treatments from these apex auteurs like JJ Abrams and Kasdan in favor of a story written by a freaking amateur like Rian Johnson, I call him Rian Johnson. Why they would not pick JJ and Kasdan's treatment, I will never know. Even the lovely Stormy Daniels hates him. After walking out of The Last Jedi, she tweeted Rian Johnson, F you, or F off, or something like that. Oh, she is a delight. So, The Last Jedi comes out, and I watch it, I can't believe it. It's totally different from what I had originally read. It was just so bad. JJ rebooted Star Wars. Came up with these great new characters, Rey, Kylo, Finn, Maz Kanata. Everything was A+, right? He handed Rian Johnson a freaking gem. All Rian had to do was polish it and pass it along. But instead, this amateur threw it away and handed us a hunk of his coal. Ugh. A terrible, ill-conceived, disjointed abomination of a script. So, what I'm showing you right here is what I read in 2014. Copies of JJ Abrams' original Episode 8 treatment as I read it. Now, as far as I'm concerned, man, this is fucking canon. Right? JJ rebooted it, and this is what he had intended for the next chapter. After reading this, if in all of its epic glory, you will agree that Rian Johnson's Last Jedi is just bad fanfiction. Ugh. So, I'm going to read it for you. I'm going to play all the parts as best I can because I'm not really a performer. But hopefully you'll enjoy it. It'll be fun. I also stole a little clip, an MP4, of the new Rey action theme. John Williams had written the original theme for Force Awakens. JJ updated the theme to give it a more action-oriented thrust. So I'll play that for you as well. So here we go. JJ Abrams' original Episode 8 treatment.
Rey walks up the Jedi steps. Seeing Luke standing at the cliff, she approaches him. Hovering boulders gently descend to the ground as she hands him his father's lightsaber. Luke takes it and eyes it longingly, like seeing a dead relative again. They regard each other. Luke.
Thank you, Rey. Well, you're finally here. Where you belong.
Rey sputters. You're Luke. Luke Skywalker, the Jedi Master.
Luke quips. I used to be.
Rey is taken aback. That's the same thing that Han said when I met him. She starts to tear up. Luke. Han. I know. He moves closer to her. His eyes begin to well up.
There's nothing I could have done. From this island, I could only influence so much. Han was beyond my reach.
Rey looks up at him, curious. Rey's eyes ask 1,000 questions. Influence? Luke smiles.
Why do you think I came to the island?
Luke's eyes widen, inquisitive. Just then a woman's voice is heard calling far off in the distance. Luke! Luke! Luke gives Rey a wink. Just then, a beautiful middle-aged woman walks towards them. 2 children trail behind her, a 7-year-old girl and an 8-year-old boy. Rey turns around, awestruck. She quickly swivels back towards Luke. Luke smiles.
Now you know why I stayed here. I've been a little busy.
Rey smiles. Luke hands the lightsaber back to her.
Here you go. I made my own. It's green. You're probably gonna need this.
Luke's wife Audra approaches. She gives Rey a smile. Rey is speechless. Audra and Rey regard each other. Luke.
Audra, this is the girl I was telling you about. The one I brought to the planet. Her name is Rey.
Audra smiles. Hello, Rey. So very nice to meet you. This is our boy, Tyus, and his sister, Kay. Rey smiles at the 2 cute kids. Audra. Are you staying for dinner? Rey looks at Luke, dumbfounded. He nods. Yes. Off his look, Rey responds. Yes, thank you. As they walk back towards Luke's hut, Rey sputters. Luke, your sister, General Leia, sent me here to find you. You are needed back to lead the resistance at once. I'm here with R2-D2 and Chewbacca in the... He cuts her off. Luke.
Millennium Falcon? Yeah, I saw. You landed on the far side of the island.
Rey replies. Yes, we haven't much time. Luke.
Yes, we do, actually. We have 90 sunsets. 90 sunsets here to prepare for imminent attack. I've communed with Leia. She knows. The resistance is safe, for now.
She looks at him, unsure. He eyeballs her, and then ignites his lightsaber. Rey, on Jakku, your escape. Did you ever ask yourself how an untrained pilot like yourself could suddenly fly the Falcon and outmaneuver those TIE fighters? Then somehow rendezvous with Han and Chewie shortly after? Rey looks at him, puzzled. She ignites her saber and charges him. They joust as they talk. Luke.
Rey, you know how to pilot the Falcon because I know how to pilot the Falcon. You beat Kylo on Starkiller because I was with you. I was aiding your untrained mind. It's an old Jedi trick that masters use to help their Padawans. You're inexperienced. You're lucky to be alive. But soon, you'll be ready. Soon, you won't need my assist. So don't worry. When the time is right, you'll be able to beat Kylo on your own.
Rey gulps. She quietly retorts. But I felt the Force.
Luke. Yes, but I was the conduit.
He swivels his green lightsaber. Charge me, he says with a smirk. Rey smiles, playing along. She charges Luke, but he throws her off balance and she falls onto the grass. While laying on the ground, she says, Snoke, the First Order Supreme Leader, he... Luke interrupts her again. Sheathing his saber, he offers her a hand.
I know of Snoke, and he's safe on his planet, just like I am on mine. His planet bleeds dark force energy, just like mine gushes the light. Both planets are cloaked from detection, only accessible with permission. I had a plan, a very long con, but I lost. The only way to penetrate Snoke's defenses was to train Kylo in both the light and the dark, but ultimately, he was compromised. He was my spy, but he was too weak to resist the dark side. I have a feeling you won't be.
Rey stares at him, awestruck. Luke ignites his lightsaber again. "Shall we?" he says with a smirk. He charges her. General Hux stands on the observation deck of his gigantic Star Destroyer, the Siege, peering out into space. Supreme Leader Snoke's holographic face appears behind him. He informs him Kylo Ren's convalescence on Mustafar is nearly over. Their number one priority is still to find Luke Skywalker's hidden planet by any means necessary. Hux explains his compudroids are working on deducing its secret location. Inside Darth Vader's castle on Mustafar, a semi-conscious Kylo Ren floats in Vader's old Bacta tank. While submerged, tiny metadroids swim around his face like tadpoles. Mostly all of the necrotic flesh on the right side of his face has been replaced with biometallic skin. One metadroid swims a new eyeball up towards Kylo's face. As the droid pushes and sutures it into the hollow eye socket, Kylo screams in pain. Red air bubbles shoot from his rebreather mask. Snoke's hologram appears before Kylo. He scolds him. Kylo's slightly detached eye cries blood. The tank tilts, and bloody Bacta begins to drain out. His limp body is expelled onto the floor. Back on Ahch-To, Rey, Chewie, and R2-D2 eat dinner with Luke's family. Audra tells Rey how she and Luke met. Rey enjoys the first family time she's ever had. She laughs with his kids, and one of them sits on her lap. She tells Luke she understands why he'd want to leave the war behind and enjoy the simple life. She's worried about what could happen if Kylo finds the planet. Luke, toying with a flute, says, "There's nothing I can do to keep Kylo from finding the island. It was foreseen long ago." Rey, "We must stop him. He'll destroy every..." Luke cuts her off. "Rey, there is something you don't understand. Once he finds this planet, he can never leave. This planet is a trap, and the island is the bait. When he comes, we'll be ready for him." Rey, "Then I'll kill him. I'll do what has to be done." Luke, "We can't kill him. It will be pointless. Once he dies, the Force will just create another dark side user, maybe even stronger. We have to trap him here on the island and keep him here." Rey is perplexed. "How?" Luke, "Well, I've got another plan. In the meantime, we train." Rey nods and says, "So what is this place? What's the planet called?" Luke, "It doesn't really have a name. There's a reason for that. It's a planet very rich with Force energy. After Order 66, this is where the surviving Jedi came for safe haven. Many Jedi lived and died here, undetected and in peace, away from the tyranny of the Empire. It's where the Force began, and probably where it's all going to end." Back to General Hux on the Siege. Their sensors pick up a gigantic piece of space junk. It's an old, bombed-out piece of Corellian freighter. Hux tells them to ignore it, but as it floats closer, the techs pick up multiple heat signatures. Suddenly, Poe, Finn, and a squadron of X-Wings shoot out from its charred and bombed-out hull. Hux dispatches TIE fighters to combat this sneak attack. Big dogfight. During the assault, Poe launches a disguised BB-8 into the Siege's exhaust ports. BB-8 enters the ship and starts snooping around. Now that they've planted BB-8 on board, General Leia commands Poe's fleet to retreat. Just as Hux calls for reinforcements, the X-Wings blast into hyperspace and out of range. BB-8 rolls through the ship, locating a huge room where compudroids are reverse engineering hyperspace signatures in that sector. They're looking for Ahch-To. BB-8 sends Leia a coded message informing her of this. Poe tells them they've got to warn Luke and Rey on the island, but Leia orders BB-8 to upload fake coordinates to the Siege's navicomputer, which will buy them more time. He does this, and the First Order blasts off into an unknown sector. Leia tells Poe not to worry. She knows exactly where she's sending them. Meanwhile, Snoke is convalescing on his home planet, Sacrum. He incubates in what seems like a gelatinous womb, nestled inside a computerized half-dome. He stirs and crawls out of the womb's fleshy orifice, like a baby being birthed. Quickly, his attendants dress him and his feeble body and inject him with life-preserving medicines. Snoke's second apprentice, the female Dathan Knott, of Melody origin, approaches him. She looks like Morticia Adams with heavy rosacea. He sicks his guards on her and she fights them feverishly with her vibrous eyes. After this brief skirmish, he applauds. She bows to Snoke, who smiles. He tells her she's ready to advance to the next level of training. She is to travel to Mustafar and keep a watchful eye on Kylo Ren. She jumps in a sleek maple leaf-looking spacecraft, the Prel, and blasts off. Back on Ahch-To, Rey and Luke walk up the grassy hill towards a rocky mountain peak. Luke,
Let me show you something.
they reach the summit and spy a golden temple, the first Jedi temple, the Bell. Rey enters, mouth agape. On the walls of the Bell are ancient Jedi hieroglyphs and pictograms depicting age-old Sith Jedi battles. Luke walks toward a large hourglass. He flips it over. Luke,
As I said, we have 90 sunsets till imminent attack. When the last grain of sand falls to the bottom of this hourglass, if we're not on that beach, it'll be too late.
Rey asks how he has this knowledge of the future. He tells her.
This island was home to an ancient sect of Force-sensitive archivists, the Nid.
Etched into the walls, he shows her archives depicting Sith Jedi battles. They go back as far as 1,000 generations, all chronicled in hieroglyph form. Rey studies them. Following the timeline, she's shocked to see, at the very end, a drawing of her handing Luke's lightsaber back to him on the cliff. Rey says, "You knew?"
Luke chuckles. Well, because they knew.
A few inches away, she sees a picture of a great battle. 3 Jedi face 7 knights in black. She realizes this is the impending battle Luke speaks of. Rey traces the people with her fingers. Rey, I see you, me, but who's the third combatant at our side? Luke,
We're not the only Force sensitives on this island.
off Rey's look, Luke responds.
She's on her way.
Rey looks around the temple to see many artifacts strewn around the floors and walls. Different weapons, armor, headdresses, and a couple jetpacks. She runs straight towards one. Ha ha! A jetpack! Rey exclaims. I used one of these before, on Jakku. They're great. Whose was it? Luke.
As I said, this was a safe haven. Many warriors left their armaments here for safekeeping over the years.
He asks her to kneel on an ornately decorated cushion in the center of the chamber. Luke pulls a golden headdress resembling a snake's head from the wall and places it on Rey's head. As she kneels, he sets an ancient Jedi holocron in front of her. He asks her to meditate and dive headfirst into the aperture of the Force. He wants to test her Force sensitivity. As she concentrates, her body begins to flicker like a candle in and out of existence. Luke's eyes widen, but he's unfazed. He talks her through this journey. Suddenly, Rey is sitting on a platinum throne inside a great acropolis. She wears lavish golden armor. Her eyes glow red. An explosion is heard, and half of the acropolis blows out. The palace is attacked by Jedi Knights. She touches her hand to the nearby holocron, the same holocron. Luke breaks the vision. Rey gasps, coming back to the Bell, and back to reality. Oh, it was so real, Luke explains.
Because it was. 300 generations ago.
Luke explains Jedi holocrons to her. Rey responds, "So, this is the first Jedi temple?" Luke says, "Yes, it was. Do you want to see the second?" Off Rey's look, we cut. Back on Mustafar, Kylo looks into a cracked mirror. He sees his reflection, and it's horrifying. Half his face is sutured with mecha tissue. His left eye is a cataract of blue film. He's become a monster. He smashes his fist into the mirror and screams in anger. As he sluggishly stands upright, he spies his mask and his outfit hanging in the corner. His communicator chirps, "Master Kylo, Dathan Knot approaches." Dathan Knot's ship cascades through the Mustafar hangar bay. Kylo and the Knights of Ren wait for her. Dathan Knot tells Kylo Snoke has sent her to spy on him. Kylo gives her new orders. She is to accompany him to Jakku to seek out the last known owner of the Millennium Falcon, Unkar Plutt. She bows. "Yes, Master." Poe, Finn, and the X-Wing squadron meet at the rendezvous point. Leia explains to Poe she directed Hux's ship towards the outer rim of the unknown regions. Poe checks the star charts and sees nothing in that sector but a dying black hole. Leia says, "Precisely." She explains, "The only way to beat the First Order is to lure General Hux and his flagship Star Destroyer, the Siege, into the black hole's event horizon and push it in." Everyone gulps. Poe remarks, "But BB-8 is on that ship." "But it's a great plan. Whose idea was it?" Leia responds, "It was BB-8's." Poe's eyes pop. They set a course to follow the Siege on its current trajectory. On Jakku, Dathan Knot and 2 Knights of Ren wait in Unkar Plutt's line as they creep towards the front. They see Unkar behind the gate of his infamous barter station. They ask him for the Millennium Falcon's tracking device. He rudely barks out at them, "I have no such thing! Get away from me, you amphibious urchin!" He slams the gate in front of them. Dathan Knot smiles. Using her vibrosize, she surgically cuts a massive chunk out of the barter station wall. The wall crumbles to the ground with a thunderous pa-church. As the various traders and townfolk scurry, Unkar Plutt plops out. She asks him again. This time, he complies. Back on Ahch-To, Luke, Rey, and Chewie stand on the beach. Rey wears the newly discovered jetpack and fiddles with its wrist-saddled controls. It doesn't seem to be working. Luke snickers. He focuses concentrated force energy out into the ocean. A gigantic pyramid, 10 stories high, emerges from the roaring waves. Rey says, "Oh, this is the second Jedi temple." Luke responds, "Yes, it was well hidden underwater." A small door opens. Luke waves her in. "After you." He takes her through the spiraling hallways and explains the temple's mysterious existence. They train with staffs inside the second Jedi temple underwater. Audra and the kids watch from a distance. Luke and Rey race on the beach. At the finish line, Luke tells Rey to continue beyond the rocky walls by herself. He wants her to meet a friend of his. Alone. As she climbs over the rocks, she jumps down into a shady cove. There, she sees a large sea monster feeding its young. It lunges for her. She screams. Luke screams from behind the rocks, but it's too late. The monster has Rey in its greasy tentacles. Right as the monster is about to drag her into the waves, it freezes. In stasis. Like a glistening goddess, Ahsoka Tano stands before her. She's using the Force to calm the beast. Chewie then jumps from behind the rocks and unloads his bowcaster into the creature's head. Blam, 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 blam! The tentacles unwrap from around Rey, and it slithers back into the ocean. Ahsoka explains there are many beasts on the island. She must be mindful of mothers protecting their young, for this is the cove of their feeding place. Luke joins them. Ahsoka explains this is where she's been living for many years, free from the pressures of the galaxy. Back to the Bell Jedi Temple, the hourglass slowly drains, pebble by pebble. Act 2. The siege streaks through the galaxy at light speed. Hux's navigators explain they will be passing the Maw and entering uncharted space. They have no idea where these coordinates will take them. Hux, hungry for victory, ignores their warnings and barrels forward. Leia's ship chases them. As soon as the siege stops, Hux sees the black hole. He immediately orders the engines to be reversed, to avoid being caught in the Singularity's gravitational pull. Leia's flagship arrives and unloads a merciless payload of torpedoes at them. Poe, Finn, and the X-Wing squadron dogfight with the protective armada of TIE fighters. Inside the siege, a female protocol droid, C-Phi Xi, spies the Resistance armada out a window. She jumps into a one-man escape pod and rockets towards Leia's ship. The droid's pod magnetically clamps onto the Resistance ship's hull. C-Phi Xi blasts through an escape hatch. She runs straight towards a crowd of rebel soldiers, saying she's defecting. They take her away in shackles. Just as it looks like Hux is winning, BB-8 inside the siege hacks its pulse thrusters, pushing the giant Star Destroyer into the event horizon of the black hole. Captain Phasma and a battalion of stormtroopers escape into hyperspace, but Hux isn't so lucky. He dies as the siege is sucked into the black hole and crashed. General Leia is brought to C-Phi Xi's cell. C-Phi Xi tells her she must dispatch a strike team to Supreme Leader Snoke's home world of Sacrum. There, Snoke has a priceless artifact he's using as a secret weapon. Leia is dubious, but C-3PO knows C-Phi Xi was a protocol droid abducted by the First Order many years ago, so Leia believes her. C-Phi Xi explains the artifact must be located and destroyed to ensure the safety of the New Republic. C-Phi Xi gives Leia the secret coordinates to Snoke's home world, Sacrum. She goes on to say anyone visiting the planet must be given a special injection. C-Phi Xi pulls out a vial of blood from her chassis and gives it to General Leia. Leia asks what it is, and C-Phi Xi replies, artificially engineered Sith blood. The Resistance thinks BB-8 was destroyed along with the siege, but he's actually stowed away on Captain Phasma's escape craft. Phasma finds BB-8 hiding in the hangar bay. Using an evil red-black BB unit, they hack his memory banks and deduce the real location of ARC-2. They throw a malfunctioning BB-8 into a scrap heap along with many outdated battle droids. Before he fizzles out, he sends Poe a distress call. Poe picks up BB-8's distress signal. Poe, Finn, and the remaining X-Wings, equipped with lightspeed jackets, chase after Captain Phasma's ship. General Leia drafts 5 Resistance-friendly bounty hunters. She orders them to travel to Sacrum and retrieve the artifact. After receiving their respective blood injections, they jet off to Sacrum. Leia takes the fleet back to a new Resistance base to hide, while the others race to ARC-2 in search of Rey and Luke. Back on ARC-2, Luke's kids awake Rey. Rey tells her they want to sing her a song they wrote especially for her. Everybody treks to the bell. Luke named his kids' band the Max Rebos. Luke plays his flute. Rey reveals to Audra, after being there on the island 2 months, she doesn't want to leave either. This is the family she's always wanted. Audra hugs her. Rey cries. Luke's kids sing to Rey. Luke-Rey training montage set to music. Think Summer's Almost Gone by The Doors, but obviously different. I'll have Michael write something cool. Time passes by. We see Luke and Rey in various stages of combat training, with Chewie and R2 setting up various traps around the island. Rey keeps fiddling with the antiquated jetpack she's found. Ahsoka finds one as well and tinkers with it. Rey, Chewie, Ahsoka, and Luke plus family visit a misty Jedi graveyard. They hold a tiny memorial service for Han Solo. Luke tells Rey about one of the nearby graves, a mysterious ancient Sith witch who turned to the light. Her name was Tolston Light. Rey sees Tolston's palm print on her dirty headstone. She stares at it, inquisitive. She kneels down to touch it. Audra asks Rey if she's ever had a birthday. Rey says she hasn't. So, she and Luke's family throw her a small party. Audra gives her an amazing present, a new combat outfit. Audra has refashioned Luke's old black Return of the Jedi outfit to fit Rey. It looks awesome, and Rey loves it. Meanwhile, on Sacrum, a lone First Order scout ship arrives. The beleaguered stormtroopers tell the tale of General Lea's Black Hole assault and how they were defeated. An irate Supreme Leader Snoke attempts to locate Kylo Ren, but his homing beacon has gone dead. Act 3. Back on Ahch-To, Rey and Ahsoka walk through the rocky catacombs behind the First Jedi Temple. Ahsoka tells her the story of Darth Vader and her time fighting with the Rebel Alliance. Suddenly, sirens blare throughout the bell. Rey looks at the hourglass and sees there is a small amount of sand left in it. But Luke runs in to say he senses intruders in orbit. Kylo Ren has found the planet. They run to their predetermined attack positions. Rey, Luke, and Ahsoka quickly put their battle armor on. Chewie and R2 streak down the coast of Ahch-To in the Millennium Falcon, hoping to fight off the first wave of attacks. Kylo Ren shoots out of the sky with his advanced TIE Executor. Dathan Knott sits behind him. They're flanked on either side by 2 TIE fighters, flown by the Knights of Ren. The Millennium Falcon attacks Kylo straight on. It's a dogfight over the island of Ahch-To. The 2 TIE fighters break off and head towards the beach. Chewie, in the Millennium Falcon, blasts Kylo's wings off, and his TIE Executor crash lands into the surf. As he and Dathan Knott emerge from the smoldering waves, Rey and Ahsoka stand before them, lightsabers blazing. The 4 combatants duel on the shore of Ahch-To. Kylo fights Rey all the way up to the edge of the cliff. She jumps off the precipice and into the open door of a hovering Millennium Falcon. She runs around the Falcon's circular hallway as Chewie spins the craft 180 degrees. Out the other side, she blasts with her jetpack on. As Kylo sprints towards the bell, Rey spirals towards him, descending. She force pushes a pile of rocks onto him, which he tries to deflect mid-gallop. On the far side of the beach, 3 Knights of Ren jump out of their TIE fighters. Luke, waiting for them with his green lightsaber ablaze, charges. He takes them all on, cutting and slicing with his saber and using force push and force lightning to finish them off. This is the badass Luke Skywalker we've all been waiting for. They were once his students. Now they're dead meat. Luke chases the last knight down the beach until he jumps over the rocks and disturbs the sea creature's cove. The Leviathan with tentacles lunges from the surf and drags the struggling knight under. As Ahsoka and Dathan Knott duel on the beach, Kylo sprints closer to the bell. He runs up the hill towards it. Just as Rey sets her sights on Kylo, she is barraged by a scattershot of laser fire, which emanates from the second TIE fighter. She blasts up into the air with her jetpack and deflects the lasers with her lightsaber. Expertly piloting the pack, she cascades around the cliff and shoots out around the other side of the ship as she dodges real laser fire. She then lands on the top of the TIE fighter and slices its wings off with her lightsaber. It begins to spiral out of control. She's thrown off, only to fall right on top of the Millennium Falcon, saved again by Chewie. She regains her footing, literally surfing the Millennium Falcon, and directs Chewie to drop her off next to the bell. Chewie roars as he spies Kylo Ren speeding towards its golden steps. He flies towards it. Rey tries to blast off with a jetpack, but it was damaged in the fall. As soon as Chewie reaches the bell, she ditches the jetpack and jumps off, speeding after Kylo, who quickly runs inside. He locates the meditation chamber and grabs the ancient Jedi holocron. Rey force pushes it out of his hands while chasing after him. They ignite their sabers and engage in a brutal lightsaber duel. Back on the beach, Ahsoka finally beats Dathan Knott, knocking her unconscious and hanging her upside down with a rope. Meanwhile, in orbit, Captain Phasma's ship finally reaches Ahch-To. She aims her ventral cannon towards Luke's island. Just as they were about to decimate it, Poe, Finn, and their squadron of X-Wings come out of hyperspace. They bombard Phasma's ship with proton torpedoes and laser fire, crippling it. BB-8 drops out of an exhaust shaft and is picked up by Poe. He and Finn immediately fly down to Ahch-To. Back to the bell on Ahch-To. Rey and Kylo fight like two cats in a bag. Kylo disarms Rey, who, lying in the center of the meditation chamber, cradles the Jedi holocron for dear life. It begins to glow and steam. Just as Kylo raises his dreaded crossguard lightsaber to deliver Rey's death blow, he's suddenly frozen. Luke's young son, Tyus, appears from the shadows, holding Kylo in stasis with the Force. Luke's daughter Kay jumps up and punches a red button on the wall, locking both Rey and Kylo under an impenetrable force field. They got him. Luke and Ahsoka arrive. Kylo taunts Luke. "I can still kill her, you know. Are you really gonna keep me trapped in here forever with her corpse?" As Kylo struggles to break free of the stasis and go in for the kill, Rey grabs the holocron with both hands. It smokes and flashes with feverish intensity. Kylo, slowly fighting the Force stasis, brings his saber down closer to her exposed neck. Suddenly, like before, Rey flickers in and out of existence. But then, she suddenly disappears. Poof, gone. Kylo is dumbfounded. Luke smiles. "You were always gullible, Kylo. No wonder Snoke so easily turned you. Now, you're our prisoner for eternity." Poe and Finn finally make their way to the meditation chamber. Luke tells them they've beaten Kylo, but Rey is gone. They ask where. He says, "She's gone to another time." Back on Snoke's planet of Sacrum, Leia's strike team arrives. They get into a firefight with Snoke's royal guards and most of them are killed. One bounty hunter, Kimlet Urg, does make it to the lower levels of what seems to be a laboratory. He enters a frozen chamber and sees something displayed in a glass case. He takes a holographic picture of it and sends it to General Leia. Just as the transmission goes through, Urg's neck is broken. As his body falls to the floor, we see Snoke standing behind him, his crippled hand extended, pulsating. Admiral Ackbar receives the holographic image, looks at it, and runs toward General Leia's quarters. She grabs it, stares at it mouth agape, and says, "Ackbar, it's a severed hand. It's Luke's severed hand from Cloud City. But the real question is, what are they using it for?" Epilogue. Rey suddenly appears, back in the Sith Acropolis, in golden armor on a platinum throne. 300 generations ago in the Old Republic, her eyes glow red. Many loyal subjects bow before her and chant. She's visibly shaken. Where is she? How did she get here? Rey is trapped in the past. She's trapped in the Old Republic. She is now Tolston Light. The end.